Last speaker for the evening, Linda Coon, is going to be discussing comparing residential property values to economic trends in Tucson, Arizona from 2006 to 2012.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Linda Coon, and my project is comparing residential property values to economic trends in Tucson, Arizona from 2006 to 2012. The Great Recession was the worst economic downturn occurring in the United States since the Great Depression of the 1930s. A financial liquidity crisis in August of 2007 initiated the recession. Simultaneously, the housing bubble in the United States peaked in 2006 and then burst, causing the value of real estate-based securities to deflate. Many well-established investment and banking institutions suffered unsustainable losses. Lehman Brothers went bankrupt in 2008 and further deepened the crisis. A common definition of recession is the decline of the real gross domestic product over two successive quarters. The National Bureau of Economic Research, NBER, defines a recession as the period between a peak of economic activity and a trough of economic activity. The Great Recession officially began when the GDP peaked in December of 2007. It ended when the GDP bottomed in a trough in June of 2009. What my presentation tonight will cover: first, I introduce the project and what its purpose is. Then follows an overview of the scope of the project and its maps. Then the data used in the project is explained, where it came from and how it was prepared. Then the graphical representation of the data, the maps, is explained. Then the analysis performed on the data is explained. Finally, the conclusions drawn from the project are discussed. In the last decade in Tucson, Arizona, like much of the nation, there was a bubble in housing prices that climaxed around 2006 and fell out around 2009. This project examines residential property values in Tucson, Arizona to answer the question: is there a relationship between the economic downturn of the Great Recession and the decline in residential property values in the later part of the last decade? Or are there other factors at work that cause the housing market to collapse? To answer these questions, this project graphically examines and compares property values in the Metro Tucson area over the period from 2006 to 2012 with a series of time-enabled maps. A temporal analysis is performed by displaying residential property values in a series of inverse distance weighted maps. An additional visualization joins property values to census block groups and displays the results in time series in web maps in a web mapping application. The study area for this project is eastern Pima County, Arizona. The project focuses on residential property values and is primarily concerned with residential properties located in Tucson, Arizona and surrounding areas. This project used data from a variety of sources. Pima County GIS provided historical versions of the parcel base PA region in a yearly series from 2006 through 2012 of parcel polygon feature classes. The parcel data included joined assessor attribute data equivalent to the closed table of assessor data for each year. Additional tabular data from the Pima County Assessor's Office, including residential mass appraisal tables and commercial values tables, were joined to the parcel feature classes for each year to provide additional information. The attributes of the parcel feature classes went through several manipulations, including recalculating geometry fields, adding use code fields, and adding habitable square footage value fields. Residential parcel point feature classes were then exported for each year from the polygon feature classes. Block group feature classes from the U.S. Census American Community Survey for both 2006 through 2010 and for 2007 through 2011 were also downloaded, and they were clipped to the Pima County border. The residential parcel point feature classes were then spatially joined to these block group polygons for the data used in the web mapping application. The Tucson Association of Realtors Multiple Listing Service provided annual reports and a polygon feature class of TAR MLS neighborhood areas. Inverse distance weighting, IDW, is a deterministic interpolation method used to represent the values of points as a continuous surface. Values assigned to locations of the surface are weighted according to the inverse distance of nearby points. The IDW tool in ArcMap was run to create an IDW raster service of the total full cash value of residential properties from the parcel points feature classes for each of the years 2006 through 2012. Another series of IDW raster images was created of the total full cash value per habitable square foot of residential properties for each of the years 2006 to 2012. Difference raster series were then calculated from both of those IDW series to show the change of value from each previous year to the successive year. A mosaic data set was created for each of the 4 IDW raster series, and then each mosaic data set was enabled. The first IDW raster time series displays the total full cash value for each of the years 2006 through 2012. Lower property values are yellow, higher property values are orange to red. If I run the time series, I'll find if I can get the right time series. It shows that over the Tucson region, property values increased from 2006 through 2008 and then decreased from 2009 through 2012. There appears to be a positive relationship between property value and median household income. Elevation and proximity to mountains appear to affect the values. Highest values are in the Santa Catalina mountain foothills, and the lowest are in the Tucson Valley floor. The second IDW raster time series image The second IDW raster time series displays the difference between the IDW images of total full cash value of residential properties for successive years. Orange indicates a positive larger difference, meaning properties increased in value. Green indicates a negative difference, meaning properties decreased in value. How do I get this thing? I'm trying to find a timeline. There's a timeline at the bottom. Yes, thank you. Running the timeline shows that property values increased over the period from 2006 to 2008. Higher valued properties showed a greater increase than lower valued properties. Property values decreased during the period from 2009 through 2012. The third IDW raster image time series displays a total full cash value per habitable square foot of residential properties for each of the years 2006 through 2012. Okay, I got it. Running the timeline series shows that property values increased from 2006 through 2008 and then decreased from 2009 through 2012. Higher valued properties appear to have greater changes in value, increasing or decreasing than lower valued properties. The fourth IDW raster image time series displays the difference between the IDW images of total full cash value per habitable square foot of residential properties for successive years. Orange indicates a positive larger difference, meaning properties increased in value. Green indicates a negative difference, meaning properties decreased in value. Running the timeline shows that property values increased during the period from 2006 through 2008 and decreased during the period from 2009 through 2012. To further visualize changes in property values in the Tucson area from 2006 to 2012, I created a web application on ArcGIS online to display the project data. The web application demonstrates the change in residential property values and the relationship of this change to the GDP and median household income over the period from 2006 to 2012, with 3 time-enabled web maps, each displayed on a separate tab. This screen shows the web application, Tucson, Arizona residential property values 2006 to 2012. To prepare the data for the maps displayed in the application, residential parcel points were joined to block group polygons in the maps. Block groups displayed average parcel values. Map is time enabled with a time slider tool to display the residential values for each of the years 2006 to 2012. Pop-ups could display when attributes of layers in the map when the user clicks a feature in the view. The first tab displays the first web map, average residential full cash value per habitable square foot in block groups, Tucson, Arizona. The map displays the average total value per habitable square foot of residential properties per census block group. So again, I got another timeline. Running the timeline of the average residential full cash per habitable square foot in block groups web map shows that the property values rose from 2006 through 2008, started decreasing in 2009, and then decreased from 2009 through 2012. The changes in property values affected both high-valued and low-valued properties. Higher-valued properties occurred in closer proximity to the mountains than lower-valued properties, with the exception of a cluster of high-valued properties in central Tucson. This screen shows the second tab of the web application displaying the web map residential property values normalized with GDP in block groups, Tucson, Arizona. This map displays the average total full cash value of residential properties per block group divided by the first quarter GDP for each year. Running the timeline of the residential property values normalized with GDP in block groups web map shows that residential property values normalized to the GDP rose from 2006 through 2009 and declined from 2010 through 2012. The map graphically demonstrates that changes in property values lag behind the trend of the GDP by a couple of years. The GDP was rising in the second half of 2010, but property values were still declining in 2012. This screen shows the third tab of the web application displaying the web map residential property values normalized with median household income in block groups, Tucson, Arizona. This map displays the average total full cash value of residential properties per block group divided by the median household income of the block group. Another timeline. Running this timeline of the residential property values normalized with median household income in block groups web map shows that residential property values normalized to median household income rose from 2006 through 2009 and declined from 2010 through 2012. Still going. Results and conclusions. My project looked at residential property values in the Tucson, Arizona area over the period of 2006 through 2012, spanning the Great Recession. The question was asked, is there a relationship between the Great Recession and residential property values in the Tucson, Arizona area? Are there other factors affecting property values during this period? To answer the question, time series of maps were created to visualize residential property values with other factors. The maps included IDW raster time series and the web mapping application displaying 3 web maps. The maps showed property values increasing from 2006 through 2008 and then decreasing from 2009 through 2012. This matches the trend of the Great Recession, but with a lag. The economy had been in recovery since the second half of 2009. Residential property values were still in decline at the end of this study. In conclusion, yes, there appears to be a relationship between the Great Recession and residential property values. My project was primarily a visualization of changes in property values over time. Next steps may be to perform a geostatistical analysis, such as a hotspot analysis, GEDIS ORD GI star, to examine the distribution of similar residential property values, or an ordinary least squares linear regression that could model property values as a dependent variable. The references of my project include Pima County GIS, who provided a series of historical parcel polygon feature classes, the Pima County Assessor's Office, who provided parcel property valuation data, the U.S. Census Bureau, who provided American Community Survey block groups and median household income data, and the Tucson Association of Realtors, who provided the TAR MLS data. Thank you for your time. Are there any questions? Yes?
Did you look at foreclosures at all, the effect that foreclosures might have on property values?
No, I did not look at foreclosures, but to the best of my knowledge, they did increase during the same period when property values were decreasing, and that might be a good amount of data to include in a future part of the study.
Anyone else?